ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වරට SLT 4G වෙතින් දැන් Pure TV නරඹන්න. ඉදිරියටම ගෙන යන SLT 4G.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, ready for anything. Army commander assures public that Sri Lanka's quarantine facilities capable of handling influx of arrivals. Good news. With global oil prices nosediving, Minister of Power and Energy hints at possible retail fuel price cuts. Big plans. Government announces global tourism communication drive targeting $10 billion tourism revenue. Preventive measures. Absconding Ravi Karunanayake and Arjun Aloysius filed writ applications in Court of Appeal seeking cancellation of warrants. All this and much more coming up on this Tuesday, the 10th of March 2020.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9.
හැටනමයි අනුහතට SMS කර රුපියල් මිලියන 3ක මුල්තැන්ගේ උපකරණ දිනාගෙන අවුරුද්දෙම කුස්සිය ටයිම් සේව් කරගන්න.
Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Shanella Fernando. Moving on to your top stories for tonight. Following the government's decision to quarantine arrivals from Iran, Italy and South Korea, Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva says that Sri Lanka's quarantine centres are being finalised and will be capable of accommodating 2,000 to 2,500 foreigners and Sri Lankan expats for the full quarantine period. In the meantime, Additional Secretary to President Admiral Jainath Kolambage quashed reports of the military charging arrivals 7,500 rupees for the 14-day stay as a misunderstanding, explaining that instructions had been issued to arrivals to keep such an amount in Sri Lankan rupees for personal expenses during the 14-day period. And in the latest reports just in, 2 Sri Lankan nationals have tested positive for the coronavirus in the UAE. Since the coronavirus grabbed the world's attention after claiming more than 3,000 lives in the world's second largest economy, China, the country is now seeing a sharp decline in the number of cases and deaths being reported. The country has to date reported a total of 80,761 COVID-19 cases and 3,136 deaths inclusive of 26 infections and 17 deaths as of today. With China's Hubei province the epicenter of the virus, the current situation within the province has prompted the implementation of a health code, mobile phone-based monitoring system to allow people to travel within the province. The statement published on the government's website said the move was aimed at promoting the resumption of work and production. Despite the positive outlook seen in China, the rest of the world seems to only now be experiencing the effects of the virus, as over 100 countries have now reported infections and deaths that continues to raise the global count to 114,571 cases and to a death toll of 4,029. South Korea has also seen a downward trend in its new cases, as the Center for Disease Control and Prevention in the country reporting 131 new cases today, bringing its total infections to 7,513. Meanwhile, the Philippines Department of Health has confirmed 11 new cases of COVID-19, raising the total number of people affected to 35. President Rodrigo Duterte has placed the Philippines under a state of public health emergency and suspended all school classes in the capital until Saturday. According to local authorities, Germany reported its first 2 confirmed deaths from coronavirus yesterday. Heinsberg local authorities said that they were in touch with local hospitals to check preparations for a possible spike in infections. Germany has so far reported 1,112 cases and has seen the least deaths of a country with COVID-19 cases above 1,000, with the country's death toll standing at 2. Meanwhile, the rapid spread of coronavirus across the world has now reached from the world's second largest economy to the world's largest economy, the United States. According to state public health authorities and a running national tally kept by the Johns Hopkins University, the number of confirmed US coronavirus cases is now at 566, including 22 deaths. About three-quarters of the 50 US states have now reported infections. However, official numbers have been met with skepticism as the country's lack of effective testing kits has delayed testing for new cases, prompting fears that the numbers could actually be higher than reported. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization today said that the threat of a coronavirus pandemic has become very real.
It's certainly troubling that so many people and countries have been affected so quickly. Now that the virus has a foothold in so many countries, the threat of a pandemic has become very real. But it would be the first pandemic in history that could be controlled. The bottom line is we're not at the mercy of the virus. For all countries, the aim is the same: stop transmission and prevent the spread of the virus.
However, Sri Lanka is currently in the process of implementing the best possible measures in containing a coronavirus outbreak within the country. Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva says that due to the close collaboration between the Ministry of Health and Indigenous Medical Services and the Ministry of Defence, the Sri Lankan Army has now finalised arrangements to quarantine foreign and Sri Lankan expatriates arriving in the country. Both quarantine centres at Punani and Kandakadu are said to be capable of accommodating at least 2,000 to 2,500 persons arriving directly from COVID-19 affected countries for the 2-week-long quarantine process. Meanwhile, Additional Secretary to President Admiral Jainath Kolambage said that there has been a misunderstanding with regard to recent reports on social media of 7,500 rupees being charged from arrivals for quarantine facilities.
There was a misunderstanding today that the government of Sri Lanka is demanding rupees 7,500 from every returnee coming from Korea for the purpose of quarantine. That is completely not true. What was informed to them was to keep some money with them in Sri Lankan currency because they are coming from a foreign country. When they are taken to Batiklo campus and the Kandakkadu, they need some cash with them for them to live during the next 14 days, especially to fulfill their own individual requirements. So that was the message, not to really charge them, and the President has now given clear instruction for the army to look after these people who are coming from Korea, Iran or Italy for that matter. So there won't be any charges for quarantine, and only thing if they want some individual expenses, that is what was meant. So there is no requirement to charge any money from the returnees to Sri Lanka for quarantine.
Lawyers representing former Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake, Arjun Aloysius and two central bank officials, Sangarapillai Padmanathan and Indika Samankumara, have filed a writ application before the Court of Appeal seeking the cancellation of the warrants issued against them by the Colombo Fort Magistrate. The application claims that the issuing of warrants by the Colombo Fort Magistrate Rangadasa Nayaka based on a police B report is illegal and requested the appeals court to move the case out of his purview.
Warrants were issued on Friday for the arrest of 10 suspects involved in the central bank bond scam, including the finance minister at the time, Ravi Karunanayake, former governor of the central bank, Arjuna Mahendran, Perpetual Treasuries Limited owner Arjun Aloysius, its CEO Kasun Palisena, and former director of the Public Debt Department of the central bank, THP Sarath Chandra. So far, only one suspect has been placed under arrest out of the 10 in total. CID sleuths have searched the residences of Karunanayake and Aloysius daily for the past several days to no avail. Lawyers representing former Finance Minister Karunanayake, Arjun Aloysius, and two central bank officials Sangarapillai Padmanathan and Indika Samankumara have filed a writ application before the Court of Appeal seeking the cancellation of the warrants against them and for the case to be moved out of the Colombo Fort Magistrate's purview. Appearing for Karunanayake, President's Counsel Faiza Mustafa in his submissions told court that Colombo Fort Magistrate Rangadisa Nayaka had no moral right to hear the case due to his spouse being employed at the central bank's legal department. He therefore requested the court to issue a temporary injunction preventing the execution of the warrant issued for the arrest of his client. Appearing on behalf of Arjun Aloysius, President's Counsel Navin Marapana told the court that in another case relating to the bond scam heard in 2018 by Colombo Fort Magistrate Ranga Dissanayake, the Attorney General's Department had appealed to the magistrate to refrain from hearing the case, citing the same reasons. He added that at the time, Magistrate Ranga Dissanayake had recused himself from the hearing and transferred the case to an alternative magistrate. Appearing for the Attorney General's Department, Deputy Solicitor General Milinda Gunatilaka informed court that he had not received any notice regarding the case. The bench then ordered the petitioner's counsel to ensure that the relevant notices are sent to the AG's department with immediate effect and scheduled the hearing of the writ appeal for tomorrow.
With battles between the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna and the Sri Lanka Freedom Party having increased in the run-up to the general elections, Minister Chamal Rajapaksa urged his supporters to keep the SLPP at the top of their minds when making their choice of candidate. However, former State Minister urged the candidates to put their differences aside and work towards defeating the common enemy of the party.
නාමල් රාජපක්ෂ මන්ත්‍රීතුමා ඊවී චානක මන්ත්‍රීතුමා පළාත් සභා මන්ත්‍රී අජිත් රාජපක්ෂ මන්ත්‍රීතුමා පළාත් සභාවේ මන්ත්‍රී කපිල දිසානායක මන්ත්‍රී නීතිඥවරුන් වෙනුවෙන් ලයනල් සුදුසිංහ මන්ත්‍රීතුමා ව්‍යාත්මක සහ වෛද්‍යවරුන්ගේ සංගමයෙන් දොස්තර පුල්ගලප්පත් මන්ත්‍රී ඒ ලයිස්ට් එකේ මමත් ඉන්නවා අපේ මන්ත්‍රීවරු පහක් ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන් ඒ පහ තෝරනකොට ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදුජන පෙරමුණ මුල් කරගෙන හිතුවොත් හොඳයි. නැත්තම් 15 දඬුවම ලැබෙයි.
නායකයන්ටත් මම කියනවා ප්‍රාදේශීය නායකයන්ටත් කියනවා කරුණාකර ඔබේ කට ප්‍රවේශම් කරගෙන හිටියොත් හොඳයි. මේක අපිට තියෙන පොදු හතුරට විරුද්ධව සටනක්. ආසන දිස්ත්‍රික් මට්ටමේ තියෙන සටන් නවත්ත ගන්න.
Rivalry within the United National Party continues to grow as its members continue to point fingers at each other for the party's currently divided situation. Addressing the media, former UNP parliamentarian Daya Gamage urged former opposition leader Sajith Premadasa to refrain from breaking away from the UNP and choose what he termed a party on rent at the behest of individuals who are misleading him.
ඊයේ පැවතුණා සාකච්ඡා කීපයක් කරු ජයසූරිය මැතිතුමාගේ ගෙදර ඒ අනුව පැවතුණු සාකච්ඡාවල අවසාන තීන්දුව උනේ දුරකථනයෙන් අපි මේ මැතිවරණය තරම් කරන්න තීන්දුව කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් සියලු දෙනාම එකගත්වේ අවස්ථාවේදී ප්‍රකාශ වුණා. එතකොට දැන් තියෙන තත්ත්වය තමයි අපි අපේ ලාංඡනය දුරකථනය මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අපි උත්සවයක් තියලා අපේ ලාංඡනය රටට හඳුන්වලා දෙනවා. ජනතාව ඉල්ලන්නේ අලුත් දේශපාලනයක්. මඩවලින් නෑවුණු හොරකම් කරන දූෂණය කරන මිනී මරණ දේශපාලඥයෝ බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඉතින් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන ජනතාව බුද්ධිමත්ව මේ තියෙන සියලු කරුණු ධාරණය කරගෙන හොඳ පිරිසක් මොන පක්ෂයෙන් හරි කමක් නැහැ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට එවයි කියලා අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
මේක කාවත් පුම්බන්න හදන බලවේගයක්වත් එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂය දියාරු කරන්න හදන අපි UNP කාරෝ. කොතනකවත් අපි UNP නෙමෙයි කියන්නේ. අපි UNP ඉඳලා තමයි බලවේගය කරන්නේ. බලවේගය ගැන කැක්කුමක් නැත්තම් ඒක මේ බලවේගයක් හදලා අවංකව මේ රට පිරිසිදු දේශපාලනයක් ගේන්න අපිට අවස්ථාවක් තියෙන එකේ ප්‍රයෝජන ගන්න නැත්තම් ඒගොල්ලන් UNP නෙමෙයි. අපි ඇත්ත UNP කාරෝ.
කුලියට අරගත්ත පක්ෂයක්. මෙතන තියෙන්නේ සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මැතිතුමාගේවත් රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමාගේවත් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෙවෙයි. එක කණ්ඩායමක් ඉන්නවා. ඒ කණ්ඩායම මැතිවරණයකට මූණ දීලා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට යන්න බැරි කණ්ඩායමක්. ඒ කණ්ඩායම කල්පනා කරනවා සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මැතිතුමාගේ පිට උඩ නැගලා ඒගොල්ලන්ට පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට යන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි කියලා. අපි මොන සන්දාන හැදුවත් මොන සන්දාන ගැහුවත් මේ සන්දානේ ලොකුම හයිය තියෙන අලියට. මම සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මැතිතුමාට අපි ඔක්කොම එකට එකතු වෙලා එක ගමනක් යමු කියලා මම ඉල්ලීමක් කරනවා. ඔබතුමාට අපි කවුරුවත් වෛර කරන්නේ නැහැ. අපි හැම කෙනෙක්ම ආදරය කරනවා. ඔබතුමා වෛරක්කාරයෙක් හැටියට පත් වෙන්න එපා කාගේවත්. ඒ වගේම සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මැතිතුමාගේ වටේ ඉඳන් එතුමාව නොමග යවන කට්ටියට මම කියනවා කරුණා කරලා මේ අපරාධය මේ පක්ෂයට කරන්න එපා.
It was brought to light during the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the Easter attacks that 14 Turkish nationals in question who arrived in the country during 2016 and 2017 have not yet left the country. This information was revealed during the testimony of Assistant Controller of the IT unit at the Department of Immigration and Immigration, Tushara Kumara Ruparatna. Appearing before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the Easter Sunday attacks, the Assistant Controller of the IT unit at the Department of Immigration and Immigration, Tushara Kumara Ruparatna, was questioned whether the investigation unit of the Commission handed over a register containing names of Turkish nationals in the country. Ruparatna responded that he received such registers on 2 occasions, and the first list contained names of 50 Turkish nationals and the second consisted of 158 names. He also mentioned that names in the first list were included in the second one. Responding to a question raised by the Commission, the officer said that the numbers of Hakan Arslan's passport were identical in both documents, but the second document carried a separate name of Hakan Hakan. He also mentioned 2 more names being included in the document as Ayten Arslan and Nezlihan Eriki. Upon being questioned by the Commission, the officer said that Hakan Hakan had left the country on the 5th of May 2016, adding that there are no records of Nezlihan Eriki leaving the country. Furthermore, he said that immigration and immigration records do not point to information on Ayten Arslan coming into the country. Upon being questioned on the remaining number of Turkish nationals in the country, Ruparatna told the Commission that records do not indicate the return of 14 nationals out of the 158. Minister of Industrial Exports, Investment Promotion, Tourism and Aviation Services Prasanna Ranatunga announced that a 5-year global communication drive has been planned targeting a revenue of $10 billion for the tourism sector. The minister added that activities centered around unique Sri Lankan events will be carried out internationally to attract 6 million tourist arrivals by 2025.
In his election manifesto, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has stated that he expects the tourism industry to contribute $10 billion to the national economy by 2025, drawing 6 million tourists to the country. Minister Ranatunga stated that a gradual increase in tourist numbers during the post-war period was mainly due to positive promotions carried out globally. However, he noted that during the past several years, the tourism industry has seen a decline in arrivals, with expected tourists in 2016 at 2.5 million. However, numbers have only reached 2 million and further reduced to 1.9 million following the Easter attacks. Therefore, the 5-year plan to attract more tourists would be implemented towards the middle of this year, with the year 2022 planned as the Tour Sri Lanka year to encourage more arrivals. Accordingly, the government intends to appoint destination agents for countries such as UK, Germany, France, India, China, Australia, Russia and the Gulf region. For countries such as the US, Spain, Italy, Scandinavia, Japan, Korea, Poland and Netherlands, public relations companies would be appointed as well.
We'll return shortly after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back in your business news. Global oil prices recovered marginally today following US President Donald Trump's announcement of what he termed very substantial economic relief measures, which could include a cut in payroll tax aimed at easing coronavirus-led economic pressure.
West Texas Intermediate crude for April delivery rose 5% to end at $32.67 a barrel from $31.13 on Monday, after briefly falling below the $29 mark. Brent crude for May delivery, which is the global benchmark, rose 5% to $36.08 per barrel. The decline seen yesterday were the largest since the Gulf War in January 1991, after Saudi Arabia cut its crude export prices in response to Russia's rejecting of any extension in production output cuts in order to show up oil prices. Analysts believe Russia's move was targeted at US fracking companies that in recent times have taken advantage of OPEC output cuts by flooding the market with millions of barrels of oil to reap immense benefits. The existing OPEC production curves will expire at the end of this month, allowing members and non-members to pump oil at will. Meanwhile, Minister of Power and Energy Mahinda Amaravira has said that the government is considering a cut in retail fuel tariffs, which would hopefully increase public disposable income and stimulate both retail demand while affecting corporate margins.
Asian shares bounced and bond yields rose from historic lows today as speculation of coordinated stimulus from global central banks and governments claimed panic selling. Japan's Nikkei 225 opened down 1.14% at 19,474.989 while the broader Topix shed 1.24% at 1,371.74%. In Hong Kong, the benchmark Hang Seng index rose 0.9% 0.9% to 25,299.31 points after falling the most in 2 years yesterday. In South Korea, stocks opened slightly lower with the Korea Composite Stock Price Index down 11.59 points or 0.59% to 1,943.18 points. The Shanghai Composite Index slid 3% to 2,943.29 points, while the CSI 300 Index skidded 3.4% to close at 3,997.13 points. Wall Street suffered its biggest one-day loss since the 2008 financial crisis yesterday, and recession worries loomed large as tumbling oil prices and ongoing coronavirus fears prompted investor panic on the anniversary of the US stock market's biggest ever bull run. Now, China's consumer price index, the main gauge of inflation, grew 5.2% year-on-year in February, the National Bureau of Statistics said on Tuesday. The reading, in line with market expectations, eased slightly from the 5.4% gain in January. On a monthly basis, consumer prices edged up 0.8%. Food prices, which account for nearly one-third of weighing in China's CPI, went up 21.9% year-on-year last month, contributing 4.45 percentage points to the index rise as the novel coronavirus outbreak disrupted market supplies and demands. In the food category, pork price grew 135.2% year-on-year, contributing 3.14 percentage points to the index rise. The price of fresh vegetables, aquatic products and eggs also rose, while fresh fruits price saw a decline. Regarding other categories, the price in medical care, education, entertainment and clothes went up, while that of transportation and communication dropped. In the first 2 months, CPI went up 5.3% year-on-year on average, up 3.7 percentage points from the same period last year. Now, Sri Lankan stocks plunged 4.14% today, with the benchmark all-share price index falling in one of the biggest one-day falls on record, as global markets also showed signs of turmoil. Trading at the Colombo Stock Exchange was halted for 30 minutes after the S&P 20 index of liquid shares fell 5% soon after opening. The all-share price index finished the day at 5,121.91 points, hitting its lowest since August 2012 when it fell to 5,114.15 points. The S&P SL20 index of most liquid stocks closed down 4.75% or 117.86 points to end at 2,361.75. Market turnover was 1.34 billion rupees. Meanwhile, the rupee closed weaker at 182 rupees and 55 to 65 cents against the US dollar in the spot market today, while bond yields eased. The rupee ended at 181 rupees and 85 cents to the greenback yesterday. Let's now take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies during the day today. Welcome back in our international news. The US has started withdrawing troops from Afghanistan as part of a deal with the Taliban aimed at bringing peace to the country. The US agreed to reduce its troops from about 12,000 to 8,600 within 135 days of signing the agreement. Drawing back troops was a condition of the historic peace deal signed by the US and the Taliban on the 29th of February. The Afghan government did not take part in the deal but is expected to hold talks with the Taliban. Afghanistan's President Ashraf Ghani initially said he would not comply with an agreement to release Taliban prisoners as a precondition for direct talks with the militant group. However, reports say the president, who was inaugurated for a second term on Monday, will issue a decree for at least 1,000 Taliban prisoners to be released this week. The Kremlin said today that the United States had told Moscow that US President Donald Trump would not travel to Russia to mark Victory Day on May 9th. Russian President Putin presides over an annual parade on May 9th to commemorate the Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany and uses the occasion to show off the country's military hardware. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters Moscow did not yet know who would represent the United States at the commemorative event. Britain's top royals came together yesterday at Westminster Abbey in their last public family gathering before Prince Harry and his wife Meghan Markle set off on a new career path devoid of official duties. The annual Commonwealth service was also the first time Harry and Meghan had been seen with senior royals, including the Queen and Prince Charles, since the couple came out with an exit deal from their royal roles in January. The January agreement, which comes into effect at the end of this month, will see the Duke and Duchess of Sussex seek to carve out a progressive new role, mainly in North America, that they aim to finance themselves. The couple have since spent most of their time in Canada but returned this month for a farewell round of engagements. Yesterday's event was their last official royal appearance, and it came less than 2 years after they married in a dazzling ceremony watched by millions around the world. In a sports news, the South African and Indian cricket teams arrived in northern hill town of Dharamsala on today for a 3-match one-day international series amid rising number of coronavirus cases in the country. The fast-spreading coronavirus has reached some 80 nations, with more new cases now reported outside China, where the flu-like illness first emerged in the central city of Wuhan late last year. The virus has killed more than 4,000, most of them in China. It has infected more than 114,000 people globally, with India reporting over 40 confirmed cases. Due to the advisory issued by the Indian government regarding coronavirus, there is an environment of fear, but the game will be held, Director Himachal Pradesh Cricket Association Sanjay Sharma said today. Coronavirus has had a major impact on sports, with a number of international sporting events either cancelled or postponed after the outbreak. Valencia players trained behind closed doors ahead of their match against Italian club Atalanta, the first Champions League match ever to be played in an empty stadium. Atalanta confirmed last week the decision was made because of the coronavirus and an order from the Spanish Health Ministry. Atalanta said they had received a letter from UEFA saying that the match can go ahead but must be behind closed doors with no ticket holders. The Italian club said all their fans who had brought tickets for the match, the second leg of the round of 16 tie, will be reimbursed. Atalanta, playing in the Champions League for the first time, led 4-1 from the first leg. Spain's health ministry said last week that fixtures expected to draw crowds from zones designated as high risk for coronavirus, such as northern Italy, would be played without spectators. Italy has said that all games and sports events in the country can only go ahead without fans until April 3rd in a bid to stop the spread of the coronavirus. With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining. I'm Shanella Fernando. Good night.